Hey, welcome back. What's up? Hope you're well. Thanks so much for popping in. I was looking around for inspiration for my next vid, and then it hit me. A sign from the Great Tolle, or Pedo-winged horse worshipper, or perhaps that guy that had a terrible Easter. Inspired hit me. I jumped down the hole, but was able to pull myself out after just 2 videos. Here's the first. Is Elon Musk one of the good guys? Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by good, but I assume you will argue that he is not. So let's see if you're able to make a decent argument or not. Spoiler alert, if you're watching this on my channel, you're almost certainly not going to hear a decent argument. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves. What's on your mind, David?
How could I call this current events decades ago? Because they're not random. You know, if current events were random, then you couldn't call them. But if there's a plan and you can work your backside off for 30 years to uncover that plan, and you can make it public to anyone who wants to hear, if nothing intervenes in the unfolding of that plan, then you predict the future.
Predicting the future? Cool! How hard will people slap me for accepting the claim you've just made? Now that would really be a prediction that could help. Mr. David Icke, David, is correct here. If there were nothing but randomness, then to the best of our current understanding, one could not consistently predict the future. However, one may get lucky here and there. Just imagine a craps table. He has, however, created a black and white fallacy, also known as a false dichotomy fallacy. He is saying there is either a plan or it is random. From this single sentence, we can see that David has no idea how logic or critical thinking works. The way to set these either-or arguments up, without committing a fallacy, is to use simple negation. For example, either there is a plan or there is not a plan. Either it is random, or it is not random. He has missed this, and so has left open other possibilities, which is why his argument is fallacious. Picture a rock rolling down a hill. It does not follow a plan, but neither is it random. Rocks follow physical laws. They don't seem to be able to magically jump to the other side of the hill, nor roll upwards. David's conclusion, then, cannot be shown correct by this method. He has created a fallacy. It is either planned or random. Well, it's not random, therefore it's planned. And because it was planned, I'm able to see the plan. But it is not either planned or random. The rock ends where it ends, which isn't random. It ends closer to the bottom than where it started, on basically the same side of the hill. Through intention or ignorance, he has missed some important points. As I said, there are physical laws. There are also social norms, and we have a little something called history. All of these add together to give people ideas of where the future may lead. Sometimes they're correct. Sometimes they're not. The very fact that there are physical laws, customs, desires, criminal laws, etc. that exist and have existed, and that seem to tend to remain constant, illustrates very well that they are not random. Now, as unfortunately usual, I feel I have to point out what should be obvious. I'm not saying David is wrong. I am only saying he is demonstrating his inability to think. We often tell a child who's just learned addition that they're able to do math. In the same way, I guess one could say David is thinking. And if David is okay with this analogy, then I suppose I will admit that he can think. Unfortunately, if you want to impress me with your math ability, I would require a little more than 2 plus 2, especially when you're saying it equals 5. So, I've made predictions in the past that have also come true. I predicted that Angelina Jolie wouldn't talk to me. She hasn't talked to me, so there must be some plan at work which I'm privy to. Bow down, worship, and send me all of your money. Truly, I have a gift.
You've got to be very careful. If any organization or group comes forward and says, you don't have to worry about it, it's all in hand, then you need to be very, very wary of those people.
Yes, I certainly agree. If you want to be as sure as you can be of something, if it is very important to you, it is best to learn about it yourself. Learn all that you can. Get involved. Help as much as possible. I would like to also point out that this may indeed be an appeal to authority fallacy. Good on you, David, for not falling for this. Just because someone says I need not concern myself does not mean the situation is under any semblance of control.
The few can't control the many unless the many acquiesce to the power of the few. And in doing so, give the power of the many to the few in the form of acquiescence. You need to be very, very streetwise about how this works.
Right again, sir. The few can only control the many when the many allow them to. Honk honk for the Canadian truckers. Be they right or wrong, they are standing up to power. I think there is value in that. It is important to note, though, that it seems to be a good thing, in many situations, to have a few people in charge of things. Consider a war where all the soldiers decided how, when, who, and where to fight. Consider a soccer game similarly. Consider your next venture to a restaurant where each of your family members goes to a different place. Actually, if your family is like mine, that may be more enjoyable. Okay, bad example. The point is that having a leader, which can certainly be very, very bad in some circumstances, is actually preferable in some other circumstances.
This cult...
Sorry, David. Which cult? Do we have a specific group in mind, or are we going with the infamous they here?
Wants to control all sides so that it can dictate the outcome before the process starts. So if you had a football game, it would want to control both sides and the referee so that you know the score before the game started.
Yeah, that is correct. If I had money on a football game, I would want to have some kind of control over the players and the ref. Change your example. If I had a family, I would want to have some kind of control over many things too. If I had a car, the same. When I make a cake or even touch myself... That sounded like a Meatloaf song. Lots of love to a champ. It is all about control over the variables. In some areas of life, we've made laws to attempt to limit this. In other areas, we are expected to automatically do it. So, what are you saying, David? Do you have evidence that people are breaking the law? Are you suggesting that we should change or create some new laws, and what would they be? Or are you spitballing about things you imagine may be true just to get views? Help me out here, bud.
If enough people wake up to it and stop cooperating with it, well, their game's over because they just don't have the numbers.
Yes, that is true. If we, as a large group, wanted to overthrow our governments, or all or some of the big businesses, sure, we could do that. I might even offer some suggestions for starting points if you're interested. However, the problem is what to do after. Look at government overthrows throughout history to see examples. Freedom! Sure, awesome. But without a direction or some very solid ideas, we have to be concerned about the possibility of the new situation being worse than the old one.
That which is behind this couldn't care less.
Pretty spooky, David. I feel like I'm stuck in the mystery van here. Zoink, Scoob! Yeah, so I don't do a decent Shaggy either. They, that cult, that group which is behind this, they are sinister. They are after you. Who are they? Yes, of course. They are the bad guys. David, you're in a dark room, pointing out the shadows that ghosts are making on the black walls. Can you turn a light on for me?
But what they want more than anything else worldwide is to purge all the institutions of those with a mind of their own, those who can see.
I have to stop you here. This is such a problem these days. All those people with a mind of their own. What are we saying here? First, it's obvious that everyone who's living has a mind of their own. So, figuratively then, you're saying a person with a mind of their own thinks differently. Well, to be fully clear, I deeply appreciate all those who think differently. That is how we progress and learn. However, a big however, just because one may think differently does not mean that person should be listened to at all. There are worlds of difference between, I think there is a force in the direction of the center of the earth because things fall when dropped, and I think the sun is made of a slice of banana because I can't think of what else it may be. Yes, people who think differently are very valuable, but only when they have good reasons for their ideas. Otherwise, they tend to look irrational. Putting all people who think differently into a single category and saying they have a mind of their own necessarily puts Stephen Hawking and Leonardo da Vinci in the same group as Charles Manson and L. Ron Hubbard. Bring it, you thick, fate, and threatening cultists. Masks have advantages. At any rate, I think it's important to be clear on our concepts. I don't care if someone has a mind of their own. I care if they're a rational person who has reasonable ideas. These are not equivalent.
So be careful of the man of the people who comes out and criticizes what he's fundamentally part of.
Well, I would certainly agree that we should all always be skeptical. That is, test new ideas to make sure they are reasonable. I would point out, however, that the person doing the criticizing should be attached in some way to what they are criticizing. I, for example, have never been to Russia. I don't speak Russian. And despite a day on the back of an elephant and a night of... Well, okay, so I have met a Russian. You probably shouldn't listen to what I have to say about Russia. However, myself being fundamentally a part of the economic system, social system, political systems, etc., then perhaps it would be within reason to listen to any rational criticisms I may have on those topics. It is precisely the people that are part of these systems which know most about them. If these people are criticizing these systems, well, they might be good people to listen to.
I have shaken my head in recent times when this person of the year has been exalted because he's criticized communism or he's criticized lockdown.
I'm not sure why this bothers you. Elon, just like you and me, has opinions on things. Sometimes others agree with us and praise us. Sometimes they disagree with us. The important part is not whether we are agreed with or not, although it does seem like a great many miss this point. The important part are the arguments for each side. The arguments and ideas are what are important, not the people who make them, nor those that support them.
It's not what someone says that matters. It's what they do.
Well, Socrates and Aristotle? Nietzsche and Kant? These people wrote books, sure, but it is what they thought and said that mattered. Dr. Martin Luther King might be another great example here. Having said that, if your point is that empty words are empty, you're correct. Let's take a look at what Elon has done. PayPal, as an attempt to get away from decentralized banks and instead allow person-to-person money exchange. Solar City, as an attempt to get people an affordable and perhaps more environmentally conscious energy plan. Tesla, as an attempt to help fight climate change, possibly prevent accidents and death, and potentially allowing more people the luxury of transportation. The Boring Company, as an attempt to improve on the way we structure our transportation systems, as well as speeding up travel in a relatively environmentally safe way. It also arguably has the best company name ever. SpaceX, as an attempt to populate another planet, and in so doing, not only become a true spacefaring species, but also quite possibly take the human species one step closer to immortality, as a great number of the potential species-ending events wouldn't end a species on two differing planets. But I'm sorry, you are about to talk crap about one of the men who at least says he is trying to do more for humanity than literally anyone I can think of throughout history. You were saying?
So let's look at Elon Musk, who is actually a psychopath.
Whoa! A psychopath! Just dropping bombs like that and moving on. Not so charitable of you, David. You can find a lot of information at this link, also in the description, to learn about antisocial disorders. But since you expressed an interest in the area, and your community college probably didn't go over the finer details, let me quickly help you. The DSM is a book which attempts to contain descriptions, symptoms, and other criteria for diagnosing mental disorders. It is currently up to its 5th iteration. You can find a link in the description of how the DSM is used to make these diagnoses in the specific case of antisocial disorder. If you knew about psychology, David, you probably would be aware that psychologists and psychiatrists do not use the term psychopath at all. That term is generally used by the ignorant who think they are speaking about psychology.
Number one, he is running this organization and he is fronting it up. The cult runs these organizations. The cult is running Facebook, not Zuckerberg. So he's fronting up these companies.
I find it hard to believe the language I speak came from the language you speak. I call mine English. You? You have literally just said that Elon Musk is running this organization. Which organization you did not bother to mention. You have also said that he is fronting it up. This means to arrive somewhere. Perhaps you meant as a figurehead. You then immediately said that it is the cult that runs these organizations. So, which is it? Elon runs this mysterious organization? Or this mysterious cult runs this mysterious organization? Or do you mean Elon Musk is the leader of this mysterious cult which runs this mysterious organization? It's all a bit too mysterious for my simple mind to grasp, I'm afraid. You're going to have to order your thoughts. Then think about your words. Then try to make your case, if possible.
SpaceX, what's that doing? All the time, day after day. It's putting up tens of thousands of low-orbit satellites. This is Musk, to fire at the Earth 5G and other frequencies.
Really? You think that is an argument for anything? I know a baker. He's a really bad guy. Let's look at this evil baker. What is he doing? He's putting icing on his cake. David, you would first have to show that 5G and, as you say, other frequencies are bad before these sentences hold any meaning whatsoever. Yes, Elon Musk is responsible for putting up satellites. You may be interested in knowing that the company's name is Starlink, not SpaceX. Those are different companies, David. Starlink has about 4,408 satellites, for your information. And SpaceX has, as far as I can tell, precisely 0 satellites in low Earth orbit presently. In any event, there is a bit of a difference between under 5,000 and, as you say, tens of thousands. You also might want to consider the concept here. Now, you may claim it is a lie, and there is some malicious intent, but at least listen to the claim. Starnet says it wants to bring fast internet to the world. Wouldn't you say that is a positive, if indeed it were true? You may be familiar with the Kardashev scale. Either way, here's a great short video about it, as well as world communication, finance, energy, and other systems. Link is also in the description.
He's got Tesla, the electric cars, which is absolutely essential, and he's already doing it, to go on the road to autonomous cars. Now, what are autonomous cars about? Well, first of all, you can't have a computer-driven autonomous car with a petrol engine or a diesel engine. So it has to be electrical.
Tesla is not essential to autonomous cars. There exist other brands, Huawei and Apple, to name a few vile companies. Tesla didn't even invent the autonomous concept. In 1939, yes, 39, General Motors' Norman Bel Geddes created the first self-driving car. Even if you wanted to argue that Elon's is the newest version, why is that bad? We're back to bakers using icing, David. Perhaps you don't know much about engines or electricity, but I assure you that autonomous cars can be made using any conventional fuel source. Alternators charge batteries in gas-powered cars, which is why your digital clock and radio work. Same premise, buddy. Change the scale a bit.
This is why they're being introduced. It's not the end, it's a stepping stone. And so when you get into a petrol car now, or a diesel, you think, okay, where do I want to go? Oh, I'm going to go here. And you drive there. Well, that's not the plan with autonomous cars. The computer is going to be programmed so you can only go where the state wants you to go and not where it doesn't want you to go.
Congratulations, sir. Another fallacy. This one is called a slippery slope fallacy. Basically, you're saying that autonomous cars will necessarily lead to freedom of movement being restricted. While I fully admit that this could be the case, I feel it rather embarrassing to point out that you have not given any evidence of this happening. It may happen. It may not. Your use of a fallacy here does not allow us to conclude anything at all. We need to stop wearing seatbelts because over hundreds of generations, they will necessarily result in one boob being smaller than the other. This may be the case. I certainly do not know. But as unfortunate as it would be, I think it is best to continue using seatbelts and trying to advance technology in safe ways.
And then he comes out and says that AI could be the end of humanity, brackets true in the sense of humanity that we know it, and then starts a company called Neuralink to connect the human brain to computers.
Wow, you are either terribly confused or intentionally misleading. Either way, perhaps time to stop speaking for a bit? Let's sort through that mess. Elon Musk says that AI could be the end of humanity. He is correct. Go watch one of hundreds of movies that have been made on the subject. I'm going to suggest Terminator. He didn't say it will, he said it could. You say that is true in that it will be the end of humanity as we know it. David, listen closely. Any change in our concept of humanity will end our old concept of humanity. That's what change means. Yes, Neuralink is planning on connecting brains to computers, and has done so in pigs, for example. You understand that's not AI, right? Elon says AI might kill us, and he is connecting brains to computers. Do you see how this is not an argument of any description? So what? Einstein said E equals mc squared, and he did math on a chalkboard. Perhaps you might be interested in some of Neuralink's goals. I guess you'd consider them lies. I certainly can't say either way. They want to stop a lot of the problems that people have with paralysis. Perhaps other problems as well. I think I would like some evidence, or at least some coherent sentences, which point to some wrongdoing prior to believing Elon Musk is Satan's buttwort. But that's just me. Skeptical.
And that is to connect the human brain to AI via the, quote, cloud. What is the cloud? It's this technologically generated field for which the low-orbit satellites of Musk are fundamental to creating.
Dude, what the sweet... Wait, I think I've been punked. This is surely comedy. Well, we're in this far, so No! Sleep! Till Brooklyn! Okay, you're claiming that some people want to connect the human brain to AI. Some want to use the cloud for this AI-to-brain connection. The cloud is a technologically generated field. Starlink satellites are required for this cloud. Yes, some people are thinking about the possibility of connecting the human brain to AI. Yes, some people are thinking about the possibility of that AI being on the cloud. Yes, and I can't believe I'm granting you this. Yes, the cloud is a technologically generated field, but not at all in the way you seem to be suggesting. The cloud refers to online. You know, David, the internet, as opposed to local, which means on your computer or phone. So, in a way, yes, the cloud is technologically generated, in that it has come to exist like almost everything created due to technology. And it could, in fact, be a field, so long as you take the mathematical definition of field loosely. But finally, no. Starlink satellites are not required for the cloud, David. The cloud has been a concept since the 60s. The term, however, might be as new as 2006. Starlink's first satellites went up in 2019. Do you number any better than you word, bud? Starlink satellites would help people all over the world access the cloud, though. Also, they could access things like dictionaries, or hell, even just hit up a quick Google search. Probably a positive. So, where does that leave us? David here has made some weighty claims, and yet hasn't said anything useful. He certainly hasn't provided any evidence or even argument, aside from the fallacies, to support any of his claims.
So please, people, wake up to this guy. He's conning you.
I can't speak to David's motivations or state of mind when making this recording, and honestly, I really don't care. What I want to look at are the views and the likes. Aside from being very jealous, Very, very jealous. About 364,000 views and 17,000 likes. Never mind. I think people watch this trash but don't understand how to parse the crap. I can understand it's difficult because it's almost all trash. But people are watching this. People are agreeing with this gentleman and following the absolute intelligence drain that is this channel. Inspired. Well, you've inspired me to make a video to protect my fellow humans from your childish, unsupported drivel. If you really want to deal with misinformation and disinformation, perhaps let's start with the easy stuff. And then we can work our way up. There's a lot of work to be done. Let's get to it.